年速度爬冰世界杯是由国际滑冰联合会主办。本赛季速度滑冰世界杯共有6站分站赛事，首站于上个周末，2023年的11月10号至12号，在日本的代广市开始。本次赛事，北京站是由中国滑冰协会和北京市体育局共同承办。在首个比赛日，也就是昨天，中国队在女子1500米的项目由韩梅和李奇时收获1银1铜，分列2、3位。而中国男子选手宁中岩则是夺得了男子1500米的铜牌。这一次的比赛，我们作为东道主，诚挚欢迎所有来自25个国家和地区的共有241名运动员。根据国际滑联的规则，世界杯东道主队伍各个项目有满额5人的参赛名额。
A quick look around Beijing, home of the 2022 Winter Olympics. On day one, several skaters had a chance to revisit that Olympic glory, coming away with World Cup victories on the same ice from the 2022 Winter Olympics. From the Beijing National Speed Skating Oval, plenty of action ahead on day two on the second World Cup stop of the 2023-24 World Cup season. Hello everyone, Gavin Day, excited to be back for another weekend on the call of the ISU speed skating season. Welcome inside the Ice Ribbon, one of the new venues that was built for the last Winter Olympic Games. Beijing, of course, the only city to ever host both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games. It's a beautiful facility, the Ice Ribbon. In the second weekend of World Cup action, of course, last weekend the racers were in Obihito in Japan, and so not too far of a quick trip down to Beijing to get set up for weekend number 2. You saw the likes of Patrick Rust and Miho Takagi reliving Olympic glory. Pardon me, Kjeld Nuis and Miho Takagi reliving Olympic glory on day 1. Plenty more skaters hoping to attain the podium this weekend. And you saw the schedule that we had today. There will be the women's 1,000 meters, the men's 500 meters, the men's 5,000, and then there's the team sprint, and also women's mass start. The competition will get underway in just a few minutes with the women's 1,000 meters. So stick around. Plenty more to come today. That was a pretty neat addition. The lane markers shaped like the Ice Ribbon. Look at the World Cup standings coming in. Of course, Yuta Leerdam, the winner last weekend in Japan. Miho Takagi, one of many medals she's won already so far this season. And Kimi Getz, what a year she's been having so far. 1, 2, and 3 in the World Cup standings in this distance right now. There will be 10 pairs in the women's 1,000 meters. Nadezhda Morozova is in number 3. The initial time she'd had her in the first heat, but instead that's going to be Kim Min-sun going on her own. Leerdam, the winner last weekend, will be in heat number 9, and Miho Takagi, who was second last weekend, in the final heat.
Here we go. Face your next.
And as I just mentioned, originally Nadezhda Morozova of Kazakhstan was slated to be in heat number 1, but they've moved her down. So instead, Kim Min-sun, the 24-year-old from Seoul, on her own for this 1,000 meters, 17th for the first World Cup last weekend. And Kim is more of a 500-meter specialist. She is the 2022-23 overall 500-meter World Cup champion. 1,000 results just haven't quite been there. She was 16th in the Olympics in this event. She, of course, will set the time to beat. See the first time split there after 200 meters. 2.5 laps in the 1,000, 18.23 that first 200-meter time. Just sort of comparing the times to what we've seen so far in Beijing to what they were skating in Japan last weekend. Times are pretty comparable. Both of them are essentially at sea level, both the ovals. So not the fastest ice in the world. The glide won't be as long for skaters. It will become more of an issue in the distance events where they might start staking shorter strides with that glide not there. The sprinters won't feel it as much as they tend to be turning over pretty quickly. And Kim now into the final turn. I didn't hear the bell that last time, but she will be coming up to finish here. She will set the time to beat. 1:17.36, that lap time 30.93. When you note, Min Kim's personal best is 1:13.79, so about 3.5 seconds. It's a pretty big difference when you compare the ice at lower elevation to the higher elevation rinks, and of course places like Calgary and Salt Lake both sharing the rival term of world's fastest ice. Second heat on the inside lane, Antoinette Reitma de Jong and Na-Yoon Lee of Korea. Reitma de Jong, 28 years old, from Rotterdam, which is north of Groningen in the Netherlands. And the youngster, Na-Yoon Lee, 17 years old. Actually, a late addition to this Division A women's 1,000 meters. They are clean. Reitma de Jong, as we always will say, point out this season, we're going to see her a lot this weekend. We have already seen her this weekend. Certainly a versatile, multi-talented skater, the 28-year-old. A little bit over the time set by Kim, about 11 hundredths. Of course, Reitma de Jong does have some distance specialty as well. So she's one who may not be a sprinter in the truest sense of the word, but will be skating into this event. This is just 1,000 meters, pretty much a warm-up for her. Now she goes under Kim's time. That lap time 27.94. Na-Yoon Lee, a couple seconds off the pace. But of course, at 17 years old, this is an experience to put in the memory banks and build on for the future parts of her career. And it will be Reitma de Jong taking the pair. Will she go to the lead Yes, she will, by a good margin, just over 1.5 seconds, 1:15.67 for Right Medi Young. And then Lee will cross with a 1:24.89. So Right Medi Young, Kim, and Lee, 1, 2, 3 right now. Of course, a long, long way to go. After this, we shift a little bit faster. The men's 500 meters coming up just next. And again, the Japanese skaters keep up their early season dominance. Absolutely spectacular, stumbling over my words there, form for the Japanese men sprinters and really the Japanese team and all early going. Third pair, Elia Smeding of Great Britain and Nadezhda Morozova of Kazakhstan.
Elias Medway. Elderly. Representing Kazakhstan.
And Morozova, the 25-year-old. Both of these skaters, Smeding and Morozova. Smeding was 14th last weekend at the opening World Cup stop, and Morozova was 11th at the 2022 Olympics. So she skated in 4 events at those Beijing Games, and this 11th in the 1,000 was her best event, first split. Smeding 18.70, Morozova 18.89, 4th and 5th so far. Compared to Right Medi Young's time, who was 16th a week ago. The skaters will come up to get the bell here. Morozova up the inside, taking a slight advantage into the bell. 28.16 lap time for Smeding, 27.86 for Morozova. Let's see how much drop-off is in their lap time. Smeding will see if she gets much of a draft drifting into the inner lane. Doesn't look like there's much of one as Morozova goes into the outer. It is still Morozova leading. I don't think Smeding is going to catch her. Nadezhda Morozova goes second fastest, 1:16.22. Smeding into third with a 1:16.90. So Morozova just over a second off her personal best there of 1:14.92, but as I mentioned, this will not be the fastest ice in the world. Brittany Bowe, the world record holder, is in this event today, as is Miho Takagi, who has the track record from those Beijing Games. And the fourth pair from Japan, Rio Yamada on the inner, and on the outer, Alina Daudanova.
Representing Japan.
There's Yamada, 26-year-old.
Elderly. Representing Kazakhstan.
And Daudanova, another teenager here, 19 years old.
Last 200 meters. That is for 1,000 meters resistance.
Daudanova, 36th in the 1,000 meter rankings in this distance a year ago. And Yamada, for the first time, we see someone going with the fastest opener since the first pair. 18.18, Daudanova, 18.50. And it is still Yamada leading things around. Coming up to get the bell, still faster. 27.98 her lap time. Daudanova 28.15. Not too far back. About half a second. But now we'll see if Yamada can get much of a draft down that back stretch. They're both just going to shift into their respective lanes as Yamada seems to be the faster of the two skaters, and not much point drafting behind someone if you're already closing up right behind them. And it's Yamada, both arms down. Daudanova, pardon me, they end up going 4th and 6th, and so Yamada fades in that last lap with a 31.07. Daudanova actually faster with a 30.96, but Yamada wins the pair, but only good enough for 4th place right now.
1 minute, 17 seconds, 0.2 break. Selena Daudanova, 1 minute, 17 seconds, 0.61.
So Yamada just post-race assessment will say, yeah, gotta keep that final lap up to where it was. And there's your top 5 right now. Reitma de Jong, Morozova, and Smeding, 1, 2, and 3. After 4 pairs.
Pair 5. Indonesia, representing Poland.
And in the 5th pair, ignore that graphic you just saw. There we are, Karolina Bosiek, 23 years old, of Poland on the inner lane. And another skater from Kazakhstan, Yekaterina Aidova, 32 years old, the veteran of the team. Cleanly away. Aidova, a 4-time Olympian. And a lot of Bosiek's success has come in the team sprint. We'll see the men doing that later today. European champion in it a couple of seasons ago. Both of the skaters going under the time set by Antoinette Reitma de Jong. First and third fastest 200 meters. Bosiek leading things around right now. See what sort of times they set. 46.10 so far for Bosiek. Aidova 46.36, very close pair. Just about a quarter of a second between the two. But as we just saw in the last pair, consistency even in the 1,000 is important to success, as that big drop off in time ultimately cost Yamada. And it is going to be Bosiek who's going to take the pair, and she slips to third. 1:16.63 that last lap again. 30.53. Aidova 1:17.30. That time's good enough for 5th place. And so Reitma de Jong's time holds up to another challenge. Her ability to maintain a speed proving to be beneficial to her so far. You see on the other lane, Vanessa Herzog. Certainly an interesting proposition here on the inner lane. Ayano Sato of Japan. 26 years old.
Representing Austria.
There is Herzog, who has a silver in this event from the 2019 World Single Distances. Specialty maybe more the 500, but never ever count her out. Herzog, a week ago, 13th in the 1,000. Sato was 9th. Sato also has found success in the team pursuit and the mass start as well. They both are faster than the time set by Right Mighty Young. Almost identical. And Herzog moves into the inner lane. A lot of her success, as I mentioned, coming in the 500 meters, but she did pick up a 1,000-meter bronze last year in Calgary, 5th overall in the standings. And again, little separating them. Herzog by 0.06 of a second in front right now. They've slipped to 7th and 5th. Herzog already sort of has both arms going. Looks like Sato might be making a move up the inside. In fact, indeed she does. It's Sato leading things around. Looks like she will win the pair. It's just a matter of time, and it goes 1:16.76. That's 4th place. Herzog 1:18.27. That puts her into 10th. Right Mighty Young still on top at the moment. Her distance prowess paying off in this one. As there have been plenty of skaters starting off faster, but they cannot put together that final lap. Number 7, Ivani Blondet of Canada on the inner lane, and Sumire Kikuchi of Japan on the outer. Blondet, the winner last weekend in the mass start. 33 years old from Ottawa. We'll see her again in the mass start later on this evening. And there is the 27-year-old Sumire Kikuchi. Blondet was 7th last weekend. Kikuchi was 12th. Still in the 1,000 meters, there aren't huge gaps in time, so very close openers. Both of these skaters have short track backgrounds as well. In fact, for Blondet, she actually skated at the Canadian short track trials earlier this year, trying to pull the double. 11th and 12th fastest opening times, but Blondet in particular, 1,000 is one of her shorter distances, and so she'll be skating into this distance kind of like Right Mighty Young was. Second split time 47.15 for Blondet, Kikuchi 47.49, 11th and 12th right now. Plenty of work to do for both of these skaters to claw back into the picture. There's Blondet using a lot of that outer lane, really using the slipstream to get right up alongside as they enter the final turn. And Blondet looks like she's going to take this pair, really maximizing that draft in the back stretch. How will she do? 1:17.32, good enough for 8th. Kikuchi, 1:18.37 for 12th. Shake of the head from Blondet there. You see here sometimes a lot of skaters just dive right into the inner lane. Blondet stayed almost in the outer part for a good part of it before ducking in on that crossover. We will see her in what's maybe more of her specialty later on tonight, the mass start. And Right Mighty Young, not really paying attention, keeping it cool. A couple big pairs still to go. 8th pair as Kimi Getz of the U.S. Mei Han of China. There is Getz from Flemington, New Jersey. And if last year was her breakout year, this is the year she's putting the world on notice, the 29-year-old. Han. Nice applause from the home crowd. Han, silver yesterday in the 1500. That was her first ever individual World Cup medal. And Getz, as I mentioned, what a year she's having so far. Second in the 500 yesterday, 5 medals last weekend in Japan, 4 of them individual, and a bronze in the mixed relay. And already she's faster by almost half a second. Gets kind of the opposite of Reitma de Jong. 500, 1,000 meters seem to be her thing. Reitma de Jong, 1,000 meters, 15 and longer. This will be an interesting time check as Reitma de Jong really skated into the race, but Gets going faster by more than a second. 45.18. Look at that lap time, 27.27. Han actually a little bit slower on that lap time. Still ahead of Reitma de Jong right now. Getz, who has her head really low on the ice. You see her just driving with each stride. She'll finish on the inner lane. And is Getz on pace for another medal in Beijing? Oh, yes, she is. 1:14.45. More than a second ahead of Reitma de Jong. Mei Han, 1:16 even. Slipping her into third place. Look at Getz, who picked up her first 1,000-meter victory last year in Poland, was third overall in the World Cup. And Han on the podium for, at the moment, some big names still to come, including right here on the inner lane, Brittany Bowe of the United States, the world record holder. There she is, the 35-year-old from Florida. But watch out on the outer lane. It's Yuta Leerdam, last weekend's winner, the 24-year-old. Her personal best not far off that world record. Of course, we don't expect it here today. Leerdam really taking off, picking up from where she left off last season, winning multiple times in the 1,000 meters. And so this last weekend start was hardly a surprise. Bowe, of course, now facing some challenges from younger teammates, but she goes with the equal fastest time, 17.91 through the first 200 meters. Leerdam 18.14. Still one more pair to go. That will feature the Olympic champion, Miho Takagi. Now, there is the bell. We'll see how Leerdam stands up. Just 0.07 of a second under the time set by Getz. Bowe, 27.93 lap time. It's about a second slower than Leerdam. I think it is still going to be Leerdam's pair. Don't think that inner lane's going to do much good for Bowe. Is Leerdam on pace for another World Cup win? No, 1:14.87. She's in second. Bowe 1:15.95 in 4th place. And so, looks like Kimmy Getz can count on yet another podium. And so, Getz in line at the moment for a possible 1,000 meters. And in the final pair, though, on the inner lane, Kishi Lee of China. And watch out on the outer lane, Miho Takagi, Olympic champion in this distance, second in the 1500. 30-year-old Lee, 5th last weekend in Japan. 29-year-old Takagi. Lee does have a World Cup victory in the 1,000 meters, but it came back in the 2014-2015 season in Seoul. Takagi, 29-year-old, was just a teenager when she skated at the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver. She was in 9th grade at the time, at 15 in 2010. Very close there on the crossover. Takagi, just so smooth. Normally sprinters are just attacking the ice, but Takagi has that smoothness to her. 1400s off the pace. I do wonder if that crossover maybe might have slowed things down just a hair. The lap time 1/10 of a second faster than Lee. And it is still Getz on top right now. Leerdam in second. Takagi won this distance at the Olympics in 2022, trying to do it here as well. Oh, by 100th of a second. Yes, she can. 1:14.44 Lee, 1:15.65, slotting her into 4th place. And by the narrowest of margins, Takagi, 1,500 win yesterday, 1,000 win today. Sees the time, celebrates accordingly. If there's any doubt that that woman is not on form this season, well, that's all gone right now. Miho Takagi, one to beat in several distances this year. Quick look back at the event that was. As Miho Takagi racks off yet another World Cup victory.
获得冠军的尤塔莱尔丹，在北京站是获得了第3位，季军1分14秒88的成绩。在稍后将要进行的是男子500米飞组的比赛，由中国选手李天龙、高廷宇出战。
Getting set up for the men's 500 meters as well. Still wait for just the confirmation of the results in the women's 1,000. And there you are, the 1,000 meter results. Takagi, Getz, and Leerdam 1, 2, 3. Lee, Wright Madiyong, Bo, Han, Morozova, Bosiek, and Sato rounding out the top 10. So they're just getting set up. Men's 500 meters will be just around the corner. Just a few minutes. Stay with us. Here's a look at the pairs for the men's 500. 10 pairs in all. The big question coming in, is there anyone who can stop the Japanese dominance of this event? That flag has just been all over the podium so far this season in the men's 500 meters. And if there is someone who can break that dominance, it maybe is the defending Olympic champion who has put up some big numbers yesterday in the B division, skating back in the A division. Now, of course, I'm talking about Gao Tingyu. First up, though, Li Tianlong from China on the inner lane, and Piotr Michalski of Poland on the outer.
Others, representing Poland,
外道波兰
Hells Mikowski.
比赛开始。
Thought I was right there for a second. I thought I heard a second gun, and they kept skating, and then eventually, yes, there was the false start gun fired a second time. See the white flag up there? That indicates the armband of the skater who false started. Is Li Tianlong. Li was third fastest yesterday in the B division. Confirmation of the false start. We'll see how that affects his reaction. This time they are safely away, 500 meters, of course. One lap and the opening straightaway, so you get the first 100-meter split here, and it is Li by 0.02 of a second, 977, 979. And there really is not a lot separating the top skaters in this. 100th of a second can be a difference between finishing on the podium and off entirely. Third and fourth yesterday tied at 35 seconds even, but it was the thousandths of a second that did it. It's Mikowski leading this one to the line, and he will take the pair. 35.16. Li 35.25. And so those are provisionally the first and second fastest times.
这是倚天龙他的个人最好成绩。
There's a photo. The difference between 35.163 and 35.254 is that much. And the second pair, certainly one to pay attention to. Min Kyu Cha and Ting Yu Gao, the defending Olympic champion, the track record holder. But there's Cha, 20th yesterday, 11th and 19th last weekend in Japan. And there is Gao, his 35.87. 34.87, pardon me, would have landed him on the podium in the A division yesterday. So, one to watch already in pair number 2. Gao, who missed last season with a back injury, already within the first few strides. Just look at that start. This is 100 meters gap. Gao 9.62. Cha goes 10.06. Gao right up behind, coming into that crossover. He set the fastest opener, now eyeing first place. Of course, it's just the second pair, long way to go, but this time may stand up for a while. Here comes Gao, 34.94. 35.87 for Cha. .34.94. Actually a little bit slower by a few hundredths of a second than his time yesterday. Very close to each other on the crossover. Wave to the home crowd. Here's the third pair. Cooper McLeod of the United States on the inner lane. Kai Vedabai of the Netherlands yesterday. There is McLeod. 14th yesterday. Second in the B group and 12th last weekend. B division, pardon me. And Vedabai, 18th yesterday. Vedabai was second yesterday to Gao. Very close opening first 100 meters. It's Vedabai slightly by just a hundredth of a second. 9.83, 9.84. 2/10 of a second off the time set by Gao. We'll see what they can do on the lap up to full speed. And it is Vedabai coming up the inside. In charge in this pair. We will see how it compares to the fastest time. The first challenge to Gao. Vedabai second, 35.09. So his lap time was faster. So Gao certainly had that powerful opening, but the lap time may be where he's vulnerable for some of the later skaters. Two Dutch skaters. The next to challenge on the inner lane, Jano Botman and Hein Otterspeer on the outer. There is Botman. 12th yesterday. His best finish was a 7th in the 500, second 500 last weekend. And Otterspeer did not race yesterday, but had a 4th and an 8th in the two 500 meters last weekend. Cleanly away. See the size difference between the two of them. Otterspeer, such a big skater. And it's Botman quicker off the line. He clocks a 9.79. Otterspeer 10.01. Not the quickest openings we've seen. And Otterspeer surging up the inside, closing it up. It is still Botman in the lead. Otterspeer trying to charge late. It's Botman who's going to take the pair, and he'll set a time. 35.13 puts him into third. And Otterspeer 35.44, half a second off the pace set by Gao. And he goes to sixth. There you go. Gao, Vedabai, and Botman right now. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to you to the World Cup. fifth pair. The youngster Neil Joop from Spain, 21 years old, and Bjorn Magnussen from Norway. Joop had a top 10 last weekend in the 500.
Representing Norway, Bjorn Magnussen.
And a lot of Magnussen's success is coming in the team sprint. Couple single distance championships medals in the team sprint and a gold medal from the world sprints in the team sprint. 9.81, 9.87. Magnussen slightly faster of the two. Eyeing down Joop on that inner lane. Magnussen now slightly in front, bit of a wobble. That allows Joop to come back and retake the lead. Joop's going to win this pair. And he'll set the sixth fastest time, 35.30. Magnussen goes 35.46, but little stumble coming into the home stretch. Ate up a lot of his finishing speed. Joop, who competed at a Youth Olympics. Time still holding up. Gao watches another pair try unsuccessfully. Now into the second half of the draw, though. David Bosa on the inner lane from Italy, and Marek Kania from Poland on the outer lane. Bosa 7th yesterday to go along with 12th and 14th a week ago. Keeps the sunglasses up on his head and then puts them down onto his face at the very last minute. There is Kania. Another one who was in the top 10 yesterday. Best result of the season so far in the 500 meters. Kania 10th and 18th last weekend. Bosa consistently around the top 10 in these 500 meters. 9.89, 9.94 for Kania, 9th and 10th fastest opening times. They're both around 0.3 of a second off the time set by Gao. Kania closing things up. These two men are just about side by side. It's Bosa with the faster turnover. He's going to take the pair, and he'll go 5th with a 35.19. Kania goes 35.33. So Gao survives another challenge. There's a look at Bosa. He is also on Italy's roster for team sprint skaters, so I think we're going to see him in the next little bit. 7th pair now, Marijn Seperkamp of the Netherlands. 4th yesterday, Damian Zurek of Poland on the outer lane. 5th, just a few hundredths of a second separated these two men, so potentially a very close pair. very long hold. Zudek eventually jumping the gun, and there is the red flag up for him. He'll get that false start. Not too much argument over that. It was Zudek who went. Just 0.03 of a second separated these two men's times yesterday. Saperkamp looking like he's putting in a faster 100 meters. Stopped the clock 9.79, 9.99 for Zudek, so not the fastest opener. But Saperkamp has about 0.17 to chase down in the one full lap in this 500 meters. It is still Saperkamp leading. Zudek closing the gap. Will it be enough? Doesn't look like it. Saperkamp is driving this one to the line, looking to beat Gao's time. Can't do it. 35.25, 35.39 for Zudek. So both of these men 7th and 10th. There were a few skaters that managed to close up on Gao in the full lap. Gao's start still the fastest, but a few others have set a faster lap time, but none of these recent pairs have been able to do that. They've all tended to fade in the lap, and so cool as a cucumber. Three more pairs. Junho Kim of Korea and Tatsuya Shinama. There is Kim, bronze medalist yesterday. Didn't have a great weekend in Japan a week ago. And Shinama, who didn't have a great result yesterday, but in Japan a week ago he had a gold and a silver medal. So sort of reversed fortunes for these two men. We'll see how it all turns out here today. Shinama, gold and silver a week ago, only could manage 8th fastest yesterday. And Kim, and very close times to Gao. Shinama 9.59. That's the fastest opener we've seen so far, but Kim right behind him. Shinama into the inner lane. Oh, and he's off. He's off his course. It's going to be Kim winning the pair. Shinama just off balance. Kim can only go second, 35.08. Shinama to 9th at 35.29. What might have been? And so Kim up into second. And when you're trying to maintain your speed around the corner, Shinama lost a lot of it. So Kim happy with that one. At the moment, headed for a second podium of the weekend. There's your top 6. Gao, Kim, Verbai, 1 through 3. And they keep showing that, man. Not looking nervous at all. And the 9th of 10 pairs on the inner lane, Wataru Morishige, yesterday's winner. And on the outer lane, Canada's Laurent Zubreuil, 2-time defending World Cup champion in the 500. Hasn't found his form really yet this year. We'll see what a strong pairing might do. 6th yesterday, Zubreuil. 7th and 6th a week ago. Wataru Morishige has just been consistent so far this season. Silver and gold a week ago in the 500. Let's see what kind of 100 meters these men set. Very even. We only see a time for Morishige 9.67, just 500ths off the pace set by Gao. I'd have to assume Dubreuil is very similar, as they were just about neck and neck. Dubreuil now closing up on the inner lane. It is still Morishige in front. Dubreuil trying to chase him down. Morishige bringing this one to the line. And he goes fastest. 34.69. Dubreuil goes second. 34.81. And Gao, they show the long shot at him, applauding the two rivals who have beaten him. And Morishige in familiar position atop the standings. And is this the reawakening of Laurent Dubreuil? Dubreuil was, of course, silver medalist in the 1,000 in Beijing in 2022. And then the final pair on the inner lane, Yudai Yamamoto and Yuma Murakami. Murakami, silver yesterday. Yudai Yamamoto won the B division a week ago and then followed that up with a 4th place up in A. And Murakami, silver yesterday, a bronze medal last weekend. Part of that Japanese dominance. Morishige, bronze in the 500 at the Olympics in Beijing, and what an opener for this right here by 0.2 of a second. Murakami 9.47, 9.83 for Yamamoto. What can Murakami do, maintaining his speed for that lap? Certainly one heck of an opener. Murakami crossing all the way into that outer lane, bringing it to the line. Is there a chance on the podium? Oh, he slips to third, 34.82. Yamamoto, 6th, 35.09. And so that means, once again, a Japanese skater winning the men's 500 meters. Murakami celebrates a bronze medal. There's a look at your winner, Wataru Morishige. His second 500-meter title of the weekend. Whatever the Japanese skaters are doing in the 500 meters, they have got it locked in so far this season. American coach Ryan Shimabakudo congratulating him. Look back at the event that we just had. And you saw the Laurent Dubreuil applauding his results. Here we are, confirmation. Morishige, Dubreuil, and Murakami, 1, 2, and 3. Gao, welcome back with a 4th place after winning the B division yesterday. Junho Kim in 5th place. And the rest of the field. And your World Cup standings. Morishige, Murakami, Shinhama, 1, 2, and 3. And Dubreuil of Canada in 4th, and Kim of Korea in 5th as things stand right now. And so they are going to resurface the ice, and they will give away some medals for the 2 events that we just saw. We'll return to action in just over 10 minutes for the men's 5,000 meters. Don't go anywhere.
下面将由国际滑联速度滑冰副主席特隆埃斯普利先生颁发奖牌。
Bronze medalist representing Netherlands.
铜牌获得者来自荷兰。
Utah Leerden. Silver medalist representing the United States of America.
银牌获得者来自美国。
Timmy Rose. Gold medalist representing Japan.
金牌获得者来自日本。
Miho Takagi. Ladies and gentlemen, our congratulations for the ISU World Cup winner and the medalist.
女士们、先生们，让我们一起祝贺2023至2024赛季国际滑联速度滑冰世界杯北京站的冠军和所有获奖的运动员。
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the ISU World Cup Speed Skating Beijing, China 2023-24, men's 500 meters.
女士们、先生们，2023至2024赛季速度滑冰世界杯北京站男子500米颁奖仪式正式开始。
Deputy Executive Director and Secretary General of the Organizing Committee, Deputy Director of the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Sports, Mr. Chen Qi, Vice President of ISU Speed Skating, Mr. Tron Esmeli, will present medals.
下面将由组委会执行副主席兼秘书长、北京市体育局副局长陈杰先生，以及国际滑联速度滑冰副主席特隆埃斯普利先生颁发奖牌。
Bronze medalist representing Japan,
铜牌获得者来自日本。
Yuma Murakami. Silver medalist representing Canada,
银牌获得者来自加拿大。
Lawrence Gabriel. Gold medalist representing Japan,
All right, here we go for the men's 5,000 meters. 8 pairs in all. See a look at the start list there. Davide Giotto and Sander Eitrem second and third last weekend in the final pair. Patrick Rust in the sixth pair, and will Rust be aiming for a track record here?
Here we go, the introduction. Pair 1.
The first pair, though,
Representing
has Riku Tsuchiya of Japan, and on the outer lane, Yu Wu of China. Tsuchiya 16th a week ago.
Outer lane. Representing China.
And Wu, 26 years old, his lone international medal coming at a World Junior Championships in a team pursuit. Cleanly away. And it will be copy and paste from last weekend, where these distance events, it's all about consistency, not having too much bleed off on your lap times. 12 laps to go. It's Tsuchiya with the fastest opener. But last weekend it was Rust who hung back. His times weren't up near the fastest, at least not right away. And then as other skaters had slowed a little bit, his times just kept almost getting faster and faster until a lot of his lap times were down in the 28s near the end. You look at the lap time early for Wu, 29.56, 30.14. So for Tsuchiya, pardon me. So it will be interesting to see how things run today. I mentioned the ice is pretty similar to what we experienced in Japan a week ago at sea level. Won't have the utmost of glide. And so the turnover in these skaters may be a little bit quicker. Rust's time last weekend was a 6:10.99. That was a track record there. He's aiming for 6:08.84. That's held by the great Niels van der Poel, the Swedish skater who has now moved on to other pursuits. Wu in front with 9 laps to go. Both of these men settling into about the high 29 seconds lap time. Tsuchiya, a lot of his World Cup hardware has come also in the team pursuit. World Single Distance Championships team pursuit silver medal in 2020. He is from Karuizawa in Japan. It's in the area around Nagano, which of course hosted the 1998 Winter Olympics. The M-Wave oval there continuing to pay dividends for Japanese skaters. It's Wu, though, in front as Tsuchiya dips into the 30-second lap time. We'll see what kind of times he's putting up here. He is now dipping into the 30s, 30.22 the lap time. Tsuchiya at 30.45. And so Wu going over the top on this crossover. He will duck into that inner lane. See if he's still staying in the ballpark of the high 29s, low 30s. 30.67, so pretty significant bleed off there in time as Tsuchiya now lapping faster that last lap by 1/10 of a second. In these races, you see sometimes when the time starts to tick away, it drops off in a hurry. And so Tsuchiya picking up 1/10 of a second last lap. And he picks up another 2. So Wu angling towards the 31-second lap times. Tsuchiya picks up another 2/10 of a second on him. See what that draft does on the backstretch. Get a little bit of the slipstream effect, making things just a little bit easier for him. The legs are screaming now. There's probably some lactic acid built up. There's probably some burning there. Wu now skating faster as Tsuchiya dips towards the 31-second lap time. Wu finding something left in reserve, perhaps, as he pulled out a little bit more time. He's still in front. Wu, 2 laps to go. Now he dips into the 31. Tsuchiya just a little bit faster. Both of these men skating very comparable lap times. Now it's the bell. The suffering is almost over. Back into the high 30s, so Wu finding a little bit consistency late. Tsuchiya dropping off a little bit. It looks like it's Wu on course to take the pair and set the early time. 7 pairs still to come. The home crowd bringing him home. Here comes Wu to the line. We'll check the time as he crosses 6:23.90. He dipped even further to 30.51 on that last lap. Tsuchiya 31.77 on the last lap time. 6:26.17. 1 and 2 right now, as you would imagine, from being the first pair overall. Moving right along to the second pair. Chris Huizinga on the inner lane, and Christian Gamma Ulaklev of Norway. There's Huizinga, 26 years old. And Ulaklev, 27 years old. Ulaklev is from Hamar, which is, of course, the home of the Viking ship oval from the 1994 Lillehammer Olympics. Ulaklev just has 1 World Cup medal in his career, and it's from a stop in Salt Lake City in the 2021-2022 season, and that came in the team pursuit. Of course, Norway with a very storied speed skating program, particularly in the long track side of things, or the long distance side of things. And Huizinga, former 5,000 meter junior world champion. Mid 30-second lap time. Huizinga is from Groningen. Groningen. Huizinga was also an all-around World Junior champion. Of course, multiple-time World Junior all-around champion Jordan Stoltz, who did compete in the 5,000 meters last weekend, is not in Beijing this weekend. He is focusing on the next few World Cups, so he's already made the move over to Europe to do some training over there. And Huizinga, 29.56 the lap time. Uleklev, 30.5 that last lap time, already a couple seconds off the pace. And so Huizinga putting up some interesting lap times. It's a matter of how can he maintain them. Through 1,800 meters, puts up another lap time in the 29s. Huizinga skating for the famous Jumbo-Visma speed skating team that was also in speed skating, and they had pro road cycling. There's been a sort of separation of those two outfits as Jumbo no longer sponsoring the cycling side of things, as there's some transition there. For a long time, that Jumbo-Visma team in speed skating has been potent outfit. A lot of the best Dutch skaters on that program. And like a lot of the Dutch program, Huizinga has also competed in roller speed skating, summer or winter. He's skating fast in some capacity. Huizinga is still in the 29s as Uleklev dips into the 31s. Last weekend, Huizinga finished 13th in the 5,000 meters. Uleklev did not take part last weekend. And for the first time, Huizinga with 5 laps to go, dipping into the 30 seconds by the narrowest of margins, 30.01. Still 3 seconds ahead of the time set by Wu. Down to the final few laps. Both arms on the back. Huizinga 4 laps to go. Slipping a little bit more time further into the 30 seconds. As the brain and the legs start to get tired, this is where the drilling of technique comes into play. Maintain the glide as much as possible on ice that is not the fastest they'll be skating on this season. Huizinga, 30.5 seconds that lap, 3 laps to go. He's sitting in the 29s for the first half of the race. On course to set the time to beat right now. Two laps to go now. The next time they come around, and now Huizinga slipping back into the 31s, so maybe a little too much bleed off of time for than what we'll see later on. That whole C word, the whole consistency thing. He's gone from the 29s into the 31s. 31.63, so not much drop off that lap, but Huizinga on course to set the fastest time through 2 pairs. And Uleklev clocking a 31.39, so he actually went a little bit faster than Huizinga this time, and Huizinga, the pain will soon be over. Just a few more strides, one hand, two hands on the legs, just keep the legs going. Clocks the time 6:22.02, last lap time 31.71. So for the moment, he moves atop the leaderboard. And Uleklev goes 6:32.63, slotting into 4th place at the moment. Third pair already on the ice as Casey Dawson of the United States on the inner lane and Jesse Spires, the second Dutch skater we've seen, on the outer lane. Both of these men 10th and 11th a week ago. Here's Dawson, 23 years old. Spires just 21. Spires was third at the Dutch trials behind Huizinga and Rust in October. Dawson, born in Park City, of course, not far away from that oval that still is used today from the 2002 Winter Olympics. World Junior bronze medalist for him in the 5,000 meters. And also an Olympic bronze medal from Beijing in the team pursuit. So a lot of all of Dawson's World Cup medals have been through the team pursuit. And it Spires in the early going. Both of these men still in the 29s. 10 laps to go though, long way to go for them. But we did notice how quickly the time started to drop off for Huizinga. So of course if they can keep it in the 29s, they'll be on course for a good result. But easier said than done, of course. I say that, Dawson already going into the 32nd lap times. Dawson, who did win the U.S. National Championships in October, beating Jordan Stoltz by just over 3.5 seconds. And that was in Milwaukee, which is low-level ice. Spires still high 29s. Dawson taking a little bit of time off that last lap. This Dutch program seemingly always has a few skaters on the podium and then a few coming through the ranks. For the first time now, Spires dipping into the 32nd lap time. He's about 1.5 seconds off the time set by Huizinga, and Dawson dips back into the 29s. So Of course, you do always have to wonder about tactics, depending on how racers feel. Each time they go around that back stretch, one of the coaches has the lap board to show their split time, that last lap time. And Dawson, once again, negative splitting Spires, but just barely. He has a long way to go. Now you see, Ryan Shimabukuro showing him 0-0. That meant 30.0, the lap time. Coming up through 3,000 meters. Spires, he's hanging around the low 30s as Dawson dipping back into the 29s. And so he's been consistently there or thereabouts, high 29s, low 30s. Spires, though, has built up an advantage and isn't bleeding off too much time, at least in this pair. An interesting time check here. Just a few laps to go, 4 laps to go, 30.41 Spires. Dawson again, just 0.02 of a second off his previous lap time. And that time he knocked a good solid chunk of time out, 0.4 of a second out of Spires' lap time. The mirage on the horizon getting that little bit clearer as Dawson tries to chase down Spires. Is there enough time? And Spires dipping closer to that 31 second, and Dawson just slipping a few hundredths of a second. Very even race from him as he'll tuck back into the inner lane. He is chewing up bigger chunks of time now. Is there enough ice for him to overhaul his Dutch opponent, though? 2 laps to go for these two. Spires edging close to 31, and yeah, it just seems like it's going to happen now. And there it is. Dawson found his groove there just in the low 30 seconds. And when I say low, by the matter of a couple hundredths of a second. Is there a late surge, though, from Spires? It is still Dawson in front. There is the bell. And the American finally losing a bit more time, but Spires now dropping off quite noticeably into 31.5. Dawson going over the top on the final crossover. What a race by the American. Barely any movement in his lap time for a few laps there. Certainly something to be encouraged about for him. It's going to be Dawson coming to take the pair. He will set a time of 6:22.29, just about a quarter of a second off of Huizinga. So he did lose more time there on that last lap, 30.63 Spires into 32.5. He slips to 4th. So Dawson really closed that gap there late. In a race where more and more experience lets you know what you're capable of consistency-wise. He'll take that, I'm sure. Huizinga not even watching as he remains atop the leaderboard. Into the next pair, all Norwegian pair, Hallgeir Engebråten and Sigurd Henriksen. Engebråten on the inner lane, Henriksen on the outer lane. Just look at the white armband. It's tough on that Norwegian kit. 23-year-old Engebråten with the white armband. And even more difficult to spot in that red kit is Henriksen, the youngster, 19 years old, with the red armband. Engebråten a week ago finishing in 9th. Henriksen did not take part in that opening World Cup of the season. Or he was in the B group, rather. He won the B group. The 6:22.37. And Engebretsen was second at the Norwegian Single Distance Championships back in October. Henriksen was fourth. Difference between these two men was about a second and a half overall. So it could be interesting to see how these men play off each other if a draft comes into play on that back stretch. If they just keep pushing each other faster and faster. Engebretsen, a member of the Team Pursuit gold medal team for Norway in 2022. Nearly going, both of these men high 29s. It's sort of been the norm. And that's just a matter of seeing how things go. Henriksen, who is a two-time World Junior 5,000 meter champion, still doesn't have any hardware on the World Cup circuit, obviously, as he's just turned 19 late last month during the Norwegian Single Distance Championships. Almost in unison, these two men on that back stretch. Henriksen lives in Stavanger, which we will see later on this World Cup season. Henriksen dipping into the 30 seconds for the first time. Engebretsen still in the 30 seconds, so we've seen some interesting different dynamics so far. Huizinga had some faster times for longer, but we saw his times really slow down near the end. Dawson, contrast that, staying right in and around the low 30 seconds for most of the race, and then a very late die-off. So Engebretsen still in the low 29s. Henriksen potentially finding a groove there at the 30.3 range, the low 30s. He's been there the last few laps, it seems. Engebretsen, as I mentioned, 9th a week ago in Obihito. And Henriksen winning the B division. At this stage, Huizinga's time is faster by almost 2 seconds, but as I mentioned, late, quite noticeable drop-offs in times where I think he had a 31.5 there somewhere. Engebretsen. This is starting to get interesting. 29.86, Henriksen down into the 30.70s. And so it's Engebretsen, the one to watch right now. He is staying consistent. He doesn't turn 24 until the middle of next month. And you see the likes of Ted Jan Blumen, who's in the second half of his 30s. And so if you're 23 now, interesting to see how he'll continue to develop. 29.76, Engebretsen going faster. Now closing in on that time by Huizinga. I mentioned Huizinga lost a pretty significant amount of time in the final few laps. And if Engebratn stays in those 29s, we may have a new leader. 2 laps to go. Engebratn, is he in the 29s again? Yes, just barely. Now he's in the lead by 6.5 tenths of a second. Henriksen, 30.75 the last lap time. Big chunk of time taken out that time. Engebratn, can he keep the legs turning over? Keep the arm moving. A little bit of a grimace there. Actually still looking quite comfortable. Up to the bell. Now he dips into the 30s for the first time, but now by almost 2 tenths of a second up on Heisinga's time. Engebratn just doesn't need his time to fall off a cliff for him to set the new fastest time. Henriksen in the low 31s. Around the corner, the final time safely. Engebratn eyeing the top of the leaderboard by 3 seconds. Yes, he does. 6:18.94, 30.5 last lap. And Henriksen, the 31.3 final lap time, 6:26.01, moves him into 6th. And there's your new leader, Hallgeir Engebratn. Pushing Heising at a second. There's the new leaderboard. Engebratn, Heisinga, and Dawson. There's Dawson right there. Expect potentially more change atop that leaderboard with some of the pairs still to come. And speaking of the benefits of experience, Bart swings on the inner lane. And on the outer, Japan's Saitaro Ichinoe. Here's swings. We know from mass start, but the 32-year-old has plenty of 5,000 meter experience as well, 7th a week ago. And Ichinoe, 27 years of age. Swings was 7th last weekend. Ichinoe 8th. Ichinoe, who attends Shinshu University, and Shinshu is what they used to call, or he did attend that school. They used to call the Nagano area, known for, among other things, the Shinshu apple. He lives now and trains in Obihiro, site of the oval where the World Cup circuit was last weekend. And swings, mass start gold medalist, one of the best roller speed skaters of all time. 32 years old. He was Belgium's flag bearer at the 2018 closing ceremony. And his mass start gold in Beijing was the first for a Belgian speed skater. Engebratn's time is still the one to beat. Both of these men 29 3/4 approximately are faster than Engebratn's time at this stage of the race, but yeah, there's still a long way to go. And for the first time, Ichinoe hits 30, swings very close to it, and And Engebretsen was in the 29s for the vast majority of the race. We'll see if this is a trend or if they're just finding where they want to be, if they're looking for consistency. It's Swings who's leading right now through 1,800 meters. Yeah, he's still in the 29s pretty easily. Ichinoue very close on the other side of 30. Swings has admitted that the lure of the chance at Olympic glory is what got him to speed skating. If roller speed skating was in the Olympic program, we may not see him here, although we're happy he is. He certainly is a benefit to this sport. These two men very close. Little separating them right now. Swings a little bit in front. 2,600 meters, just over halfway, and Swings dipping into the 30s, 0.04 of a second faster than Engebretsen, but at this stage, it would have been the third fastest time, but we've seen other skaters like Huizinga dipping. So it's interesting, you see he's faster than the lead time, but third fastest overall. The dynamics of a 5,000 meter race, 2,000 meters to go. Swings now, second lap in a row, he's into the 30s. Engebretsen was the hallmark of consistency. As Swings now gets to go over the top on the crossover. Starting to pull away from Ichinoue. Now it looks like he is staying in the low 30s, a little bit more time seeping away there. He's now half a second behind Engebretsen's time. Gonna have to find something late to close that gap because Engebretsen did not lose much time as the race went on, perhaps a little bit in the final 2 laps. And back into the 30.2s. So I believe a little bit faster than his previous lap. Just trying to maintain his form, maintain his technique and his glide. Because as you start to fatigue, that is what you fall back on. Just on that instinct. Ichinoue has both arms going there a little bit. He is fading. Swings 30.5 that lap time. 2 laps to go. He's trending, it seems, a little bit better than Huizinga. These last 2 laps will be very key, obviously. Not sure if he'll be able to catch Engebretsen. Coming up to get the bell. That last lap time, 30.7, and yeah, slipping. He's up into the second overall time, almost 2 seconds back of Engebretsen, but ahead of Huizinga, who, as we remember, really faded there late. Ichinoue 31.83 the last lap time. And Swings eyeing second place right now. Safely around the final time. Has one arm going. Does he maintain that second fastest time? Yes, he does. 6:21.22 for the first time into the 31 lap time. Ichinoue, 6:26.13 puts him into 8th after 5 of 8 pairs. Sixth of 8 pairs, and certainly one to watch here. Patrick Rust of the Netherlands on the outer lane. Sverre Lund Pedersen of Norway on the inner. Pedersen, 31 years old, 5th last weekend in Japan. And Rust, 27. Just apropos of nothing, the track record, 6:08.84. Rust last weekend just kept getting faster and faster. The race went on, dipping into the high 28 seconds in the final few laps. And so following that, Game Plenty may not start the fastest, but watch as he goes in the second half of the race. Pedersen, also not to be outdone, has a bronze medal from the 5,000 meters at the Olympics. That was in 2018 in Pyeongchang. Also regular finisher on the podium at the World All-Around Championships. And of course, Norway, two-time, back-to-back team pursuit Olympic champions, and Pedersen was a member of that team. Rust, 29.5 second lap time. Is that where he's going to be, or is it going to be like last weekend where he just kept getting faster? 29.5, almost bang on the last lap. Pedersen into the 30s. Pedersen did win the 5,000 meters at the World Single Distances in 2019. But for the last few years, it's before his retirement, it was a lot of Niels van der Poel against Patrick Rust. 29.50. Pedersen back into the 29s, and Rust already starting to fly away. Won 3 times gold medal on the World Cup last season. There's a 29.41 as he's starting to tick down once again. Skating long distances is who Patrick Rust is. Also does marathon skating, has done roller speed skating. On the second half of the race, Rust 29.43 again, ticking down. And is this where he shifts again? There's the board at 9.4, 29.4. This man far and away the best distance skater in the world right now, perhaps. 29.37, even faster, 5 laps to go. Pedersen keeping Rust within sight. He's still in the 29s, high 29s. 29.41, ticking down again. 4:14.54. Patrick Rust, is he eyeing those 28-second lap times as well? Pedersen, pretty much identical to his last lap time. Of course, that will pale in comparison to the man he's competing against, but he's putting in a valiant effort. And even lower, 29.25, Rust picking up speed into the final 3 laps. It's looking like first is almost a foregone conclusion right now. Of course, there's still the matter of staying on his skates. Let's see where Rust is aiming now. With 2 laps to go. 29.17 that lap time. Almost identical to a week ago, getting faster as he goes along. Pedersen also dropping his lap times a little bit. He's currently sitting in 3rd. Still to come, Davide Giotto and Sander Aitrem, but there's the bell. Rust, 29.20 this time. I think the track record is safe for another year. Pedersen getting up into 2nd place right now. And Rust bringing it around one final time, looking like he's going to go 2 for 2 in the men's 5,000 meters. Yes, he does. 6:11.40, 29.2 last lap time, 7.5 seconds faster. And Sverlund Pedersen, 6:18.58, slotting into 2nd place, but 7 seconds adrift of Patrick Rust. The gauntlet for the final pair has been thrown down. All smiles from him. And a class of his own right now. In the long distance, or at least in the 5,000, Engebrotten, not much I can do when those 2 men are out there. A shrug of the shoulders. And 1 pair still to go. Pardon me, 2 pairs still to go. I'm getting ahead of myself. Ted-Jan Blumen, how could I forget? Former world champion in this distance. 37-year-old. And from Italy, Michele Malfatti, 28 years of age. I'm already looking ahead to the final pair, but this big one's still to go. Blumen, of course, the 2018 10,000 meter Olympic champion. Also has a silver from that Olympics. Malfatti has a team pursuit bronze from a European single distance championships. And was 9th in the 10,000 meters on this oval in 2022, 15th in the 5,000 meters. Last weekend, Blumen 4th, Malfatti in 6th place. I know that Rust time will be tough to beat. Blumen does not have fond memories of this oval, at least from an Olympics point of view. Both of them in the early going. Negative splitting. The time set by Patrick Rust. Very even early. A week ago, Blumen was about just over 7 seconds off the time set by Rust. Malfatti about 1.5 seconds behind Blumen. So interesting to see how these two men match up. Already both of them slipping into the 30-second range. Very even, and you see Malfatti drifting as far out as he can to soak up as much of the slipstream behind Blumen as possible before remembering to duck into that inner lane on the crossover. It's Malfatti leading things around. Both of them almost identical lap times there as they dip back into the 29s, 0.05 of a second separating them. Of course, Malfatti has to be looking to 2026. Milan Cortina hosting the Olympics, mind you. First time since Torino in 2006, and there's been some movement about where that speed skating oval in 2026 will be. It was supposed to be in Baselga di Pine, but costs of putting a roof on the venue were maybe a bit too much for organizers, and so they talked about going back to Torino, but the refrigeration system has been removed from the oval Lingotto. And so I believe they've settled on a temporary facility in Milan. Both of these men back in the high 29s. Very even pair here so far. Blumen, the elder statesman here, putting in a 29.67, starting to inch out over Malfatti, who dipped into the 30s, 30.25. Did he go out a bit too soon, a bit too hard, too soon? Because that's a pretty steep drop off in the last little bit. Blumen now with a gap on Malfatti. Years of experience doing this race over and over and over again. 29.65, ticking down the lap times. He's now sitting in second. Still just over 3 seconds back of Rust's time. But Blumen's time's heading in the right direction for him. Two laps to go. Blumen 29.72 that lap time. He could be headed to a second right now. Malfatti's time about 30.5 seconds. Now Blumen, Canada shut out of the medals yesterday already. Laurent Dubreuil on the podium for them. Blumen looking to try to make the second Canadian on the podium today. Coming up to the bell, we'll see what that last lap time was. 29.88, still not yet in the 30s. Malfatti drifting into the 31s. Blumen on course to potentially slot into second place right now. He'll cross into that inner lane for the final turn. Blumen, fourth a week ago. On pace to put up the second place time. We'll see what it is. 6:16.89. 5.5 seconds down on Rust. Malfatti, 6:20.72, putting him into 5th. And Blumen digging deep. So Blumen sitting second right now, but there is still one pair to come. There's Rust, not even watching. Sverlund Pedersen waits and sees if he'll get onto the podium. Giotto of Italy on the inner lane, Eitrem of Norway on the outer lane. Second and third a week ago, less than a second separated these two men. Giotto, 10,000 meter world champion. And this Norwegian program, plenty of youth in the longer distances. Eitrem, a silver medal from the European All-Round Championships last season. Did take gold medal in the 5,000 at the stop in Tomaszów Mazowiecki in Poland. Also had a silver at Heerenveen. So he's 21, but watch out, world, because Sander Eitrem has some pretty big plans for the coming years. And of course, not to be outdone, Davide Giotto, who was silver last weekend. As I mentioned, gold in the 10,000 meters at the World Single Distances, silver in the 5,000. That was in Heerenveen. So in the early going, pretty fast start for these two men. Giotto did start quickly last week as well. It's all well and good to see 28-second lap time this early in the race, but what do your final laps look like? Low 29s, Giotto fast starting again. He does have that endurance with his 10K specialty. Of course, also bronze medal here on this oval at the last Olympics, 2022. Eitrem, he's already shown his international pedigree. And if there is any youthful exuberance, it's to remember not to get carried away too early. Low 29s for Eitrem. So they sort of flip as Giotto goes into the higher 29 seconds. They're still ahead of the time set by Rust right now. But if there is anyone who is the definition of consistency, was Patrick Rust, ticking down the times as the laps went on. Giotto now with the faster of the laps. At what point do you start thinking, okay, this is a serious challenge? Little separating these two men at this stage of things as they close in on the second half of the race. Just 0.03 of a second as Eitrem goes the low 29s. Just punch and counter punch in this men's 5,000 meters. Just when you think someone's putting up faster lap times consistency, whoops, the other one goes faster. Now it's Giotto out marginally in front. 5 laps to go. Both of these men still in the low 21s, still going faster than Rust. So smooth. Their faces aren't giving away much. Cool, calm, and composed right now. Still Giotto in front. 3,000 meters now. And still 29.3. He's a second and a half faster than Giotto. Putting more time in the bank. That even if there is a bleed off in time, he has enough of an advantage. Now it looks like the legs are starting to tick over. Great draft by Giotto there. He's got some time in the bank. And is Giotto on course for a win here? 29 and a half, still 1.3 seconds with 4 laps to go. Of course, Rust, his laps got faster and faster. And so any drop off in time will be accentuated that much more when you know of Rust's proclivity for going faster. Three laps to go. Eitrem now slipping behind Rust's time. Giotto's lead down to 3/4 of a second as he goes 29.78. I believe Rust was down to the 29.2s near the end. Two laps to go. 30.14. Now it's all gone. Rust looking like he might be on course for a World Cup victory again as Giotto saw a big drop off in time, perhaps too big for his liking, into the 30s. Is there a fight back for him? It's easier said than done. Eitrem still hanging in there. There is the bell. 400 meters left. Giotto 30.32. Eitrem going a little bit faster there, 30.25. And Giotto now perhaps too big of a task to close back up on Giotto. To close back in on Rust, mind you, pardon. And he will win the pair. But I don't think it will be enough. And Rust, Patrick Rust, looking like he is going to go 2 for 2. Giotto goes 6:14.25 into second. Eitrem 6:15.42. That moves him into third, and that moves Ted-Jan Blumen into fourth place. And so Giotto likes it. He'll get another silver medal. Wonder what Giotto's saying there. At what point does he say, yeah, I've got nothing left in the legs? I'll just await confirmation of the results. is Rust doing an interview with Dutch television. Confirmation. Rust, Giotto, Eitrem, 1, 2, 3. Ted-Jan Blumen, 4th. Svertlund Pedersen in 5th. So identical 1 through 5 from last weekend in Japan. Rest of the field. And the World Cup standings. Rust, a perfect 2 for 2. Giotto, 2 seconds. Eitrem, 2/3. So we are going to take a break. They've begun resurfacing. They'll give out medals for the event you just saw. And then we will be back for the men's team sprint and the women's mass start. Don't go anywhere. Getting set up for the men's team sprint. 2 events still to go today. See the first 3 heats. There are 6 overall. Canada, the defending world champions. It will be a solo finish team in the first heat. There they are.
Representing Finland, Mexico, Juuso Leppänen, Semuni Stömmelen.
Go to the start.
You heard them introduced. Finland has Max Kakko, Juuso Lehtinen, and Samuli Suomalainen. Kakko 22, Lehtinen 21, Suomalainen 25. And so, you know the drill. Each lap, a skater peels off. And until there's one skater who finishes off the job. Perhaps inspired by the event of the same name from track cycling. 2 laps to go, 29.95, down to 2 skaters. Lehtinen and Suomalainen. And the second skater peels off. The current lap time 56.20 is Finland's time right now. And gritting his teeth down the start-finish line, drops both arms. 1:24.26 the time to beat right now. Last week in Japan, there was no team sprint. There was the mixed relay making its debut, so these events swapping out. And as I mentioned, Canada are the reigning world champions, Netherlands in second, Norway in third. That was in Heerenveen. And here is a look at the defending world champions, the Canadians, going up against Kazakhstan. Here's Kazakhstan's team. Altai Zardembukuli, Nikita Vagenin, and Artur Galiev. Canadian team of David Larue, Laurent Dubreuil, and Vincent Dehetre. cleanly away. The Canadian team that won World Championships last year did have Dubreuil, Antoine Gélina-Beaulieu, and Christopher Fiola. So Dubreuil is the only returning skater of that World Championship team here. And it's Kazakhstan out fastest with the first opener, 16.82. And in the team sprint at those World Championships, Kazakhstan finished 7th. And Canada now moving in front. Dubreuil leading De Hetre, who's a former 1,000-meter multiple-time national champion. Canada out in front by almost 0.6 of a second. Both of these times are faster than the ones set by Finland. Canada crossing, 108 even. Kazakhstan, 108.94. Around the final bend. It's a very, very long sprint for those third men. Canada goes 1:22.44, fastest. Kazakhstan, 1:23.75, putting them in second at the moment. So the world champions picking up where they left off. Dubreuil had a little work to do to catch up to his teammates. Of course, there are tactics in play where you don't want to get right up behind your teammate who may be slowing down coming up to the finish. You want to approach him right as he peels off so you can just keep your momentum going and not check your stride at all. Next one has Korea against Japan. Jun-Ho Kim for Korea. Kim Tae-yoon. And Sang-Yuk Cho. Germany has its team out as well. Moritz Klein, Stefan Emmelin in there. Korea did not compete in this event at the World Championships, which is really the last metric that we have. The last time that it was competed. Germany was 5th. And after the first lap, Korea up by half a second on that time set by Canada. Germany just 0.4 of a second down. Very close opener. World Cup rankings for team sprint last year were Netherlands, Canada, and Norway 1 through 3 rather. And there is the bell. Is Korea able to keep that advantage just barely by 1/100th of a second. Germany about 1/4 of a second down. And Germany now in front by 0.17 of a second. Korea now fading 0.3 of a second down. Coming up to the end. Germany goes fastest by over a second. Korea able to close it up a little bit to get third by just over 1/10 of a second. But how about that from the Germans? Happy German team. 3 pairs to go, and they sit in pole position right now. Next pair has Norway taking on China. Norway with 5th overall. Norway was 3rd overall in the team sprints World Cup standings last year. China was 5th.
Here we go, pair 4.
Bin Liu, Haonan Du, and Zhongyang Ning for China. As you'd imagine, the home crowd giving them a rousing support. And Norway has Paul Christensen, Bjorn Magnussen, and Havard Lorentzen. Lorentzen, of course, silver medal in the 1,000, gold medal in the 500 at the 2018 Olympics. Cleanly away, Germany's tied the 1 to beat. Canada in 2nd right now. Chinese team finding unison, 2/100ths of a second fastest right now. Then the time set by Germany. It's the 3rd fastest start overall. And the first skater peels off. Norway now moving into the lead. Not bad finisher for Norway to have Havard Lorentzen. Not bad to have someone who has a bit of sprint endurance. Setting things up for the final skater. There is Lorentzen for Norway. They're sitting about 1/4 of a second up. China moving faster than the Germans as well by 1/100th of a second. But the Germans did push late. This will be the last time split. It'll be interesting to see. Norway still in front. China closing right up. 8/100ths of a second down on Norway. These two are the 2 fastest times right now. How much closer will it be at the line? China might have moved in front, and yes, they have. 1:20.71, half a second faster than Germany. Norway, 1:20.98, still faster than Germany, but 2nd overall right now. So Lorentzen, in the end, does fade. China, through Ning, came on with the late surge. Always like that angle comparing the 2 teams at the line. Big celebration, big roar from the home crowd as well. China moves provisionally into 1st, Norway 2nd, Germany 3rd, Canada 4th, Korea in 5th. 2 more pairs still to go. There is a look at Poland. They were 4th overall in the men's team sprint last year. Marek Kania, Piotr Michalski, and Damian Zurek. And they go up against Italy's trio Francesco Betti, David Bossa, and Alessio Trentini. Poland did pick up a gold medal last year in this event at the World Cup stop in Calgary. Of course, there's so many variables that can happen in a race where you have 3 skaters sprinting all out. It's Poland out already, almost half a second lead on the time set by China. But so much changes even in half a lap, but they've only added to it over 8/10 of a second now. Italy 1/10 of a second off the pace set by China, but 8th overall at this stage. Poland just keeps adding to it. As I mentioned, gold in Calgary. Will they start off the Team Sprint World Cup season on the right foot here? Now both of these teams ahead of China. Trentini going for Italy, Zurek for Poland. The last time check could be telling. Still hanging on, but China with that late surge, it's indicative there. Italy slipping a little bit. Zurek trying to hang on. Coming to the line. Is Zurek going to take it? Oh, he slips to 3rd, and Italy drops down to 5th. 121.04 for Poland. 121.65 for Italy. And so that late surge by China evident there. One pair to go. There's a look at the U.S. They picked up a bronze medal at the first time this was held on World Cup last year in Heerenveen. And they were 6th at World Championships. Luis Huller will finish things off behind Wesley Dice. And there's the American team. Austin Kleba, Cooper McLeod, and Zach Stoppelmoor. And Kleba and McLeod were on this U.S. team. We're at World Championships last season. Look at the 2 different times of starts, too. The Netherlands pretty much in a straight line. The U.S. had 2 in behind and 1 in front. Interesting approaches. We'll see how that kind of dynamic. Each team, of course, plays to their own strengths. Both teams faster than China right now. With a reminder, China really came on strong late. As the first team member peels off, it's the U.S. in front by 7/10 of a second. The Netherlands also ahead of the time set by China by almost half a second. Still faster. The Dutch were 2nd in the World Championships last year, picked up a couple of medals on World Cup. And there is the bell, virtually identical between them. About 14 hundredths of a second separating the U.S. and the Netherlands. See how much of that advantage they maintain. The U.S. still 9/10 up as the Dutch are fading here. The U.S. 9/10 of a second to work with, aiming for gold at the first World Cup. First time this is being held on World Cup. The USA coming to the line. They go fastest by almost half a second. The Dutch almost identical to the Chinese time. I think the Chinese have it if you go to the thousandths of a second. So the USA had plenty of hardware yesterday with the women. More today with Kimmy Getz, and now the men are on the board in the team sprint with gold. By a healthy margin. And the USA puts another medal into the tally. China also pretty happy with their finish. McLeod, Stoppelmoor, and Kleba. And it's official. USA, China, Netherlands, the podium in the men's team sprint. We will quickly turn things around here in just a few minutes for the women's mass start, the final event of the day. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And here we go for the women's mass start. Look at the start list. There'll be Evanie Blondin, Mia Kilberg, Manganiello, Valerie Malte, Jiwoo Park, Caitlin McGregor, Ramona Hardy, Josephine Heimerl, Michelle Udig, Sandrine Tass, Laura Lorenzato. And then it's on this second page where you might want to look to the bottom. Wenjing Jin, Georgia Birkeland, Borium Kim, Aoyo Chen, Sumire Kikuchi, Magdalena Chishchan, Laura Kursova. Lost my place there. Lucy Korvasova, Zuzana Kursova, Momoka Horikawa, and then Marijke Groenewoud of the Netherlands, and Irene Schouten of the Netherlands, also back this week. So there's Blondin, our winner last week. She'll wear that yellow cap to indicate. She'll wear number 1. And we'll just let the in-host announcers do their introductions and get back with you and fill you in on where we are. And so the numbers on the helmets largely indicative of where they finished last weekend in Japan. I mentioned the yellow cap and the number 1 for Evanie Blondin. Esther Kiel, who was second last weekend, is not entered this weekend. That is, of course, because Irene Schouten and Marijke Groenewoud are back in the picture to create quite a fearsome 1-2 tandem for the Netherlands. You know how it works. 16 laps. Every 4 laps there will be a sprint point where a couple of points will be handed out. But it's the big one on the finish line that will ultimately determine the podium. And it is Blondin out in front early. There you see the top 10. Not a lot of movement when it's bunched up like that and everyone's almost in a standing position. You know it's not going terribly fast. And now they can duck into that inner warm-up lane. And right now in front, Olga Pietrowska of Poland, leading things around. Nobody's deciding to try to go on the attack just yet. Osova of the Czech Republic, and Luciani, who I believe last weekend did launch something of an attack. Oh, pardon me, that was Lorenzato. Luciani, 25 years old, was 15th in the B division yesterday here in Beijing. Watch out for that orange kit there. Either one of them, really. Gronewood or Schouten. Now the sprint lap comes. Now the attack goes. And I think it's Piotrowska deciding to up the tempo and go for it. One of the Swiss skaters is in third there. And it is Caitlin McGregor rounding the outside. Looks like she might take the sprint point. The former hockey player taking top points. McGregor, pretty comfortable surroundings. Close quarters with other skaters like on a hockey rink. She made the jump after competing for Switzerland in hockey for a number of years. Her father, a coach, Canadian who moved over to coach in Switzerland and just kind of stayed there. And now there is some movement. It's Chischon on the front, but Gronewood now upping the tempo. Blondin deciding to mark her. That's a very early move by Marijke Gronewood. 24 years old from Hallam. Now they decide to ease things off. I think Gronewood saw who was on her tail and went, okay, let's rethink this a little bit. Maybe trying to catch Blondin unawares, but Blondin smart to mark that attack. Gronewood, the world champion in the mass start, 2021 and 2023. And now it's Schouten on the move. When Gronewood sits back, it's Schouten going on the attack. Not a bad 1-2 tandem. Of course, the Olympic record holder in the 3 and 5,000 meters. Gold in the mass start. 4 medals overall. Irene Schouten's resume is very, very long. But it's a skater from Japan and another one of the Swiss skaters. I believe this one's Ramona Hardy going for it. And that is the case, and I think she took it ahead of Sumire Kikuchi. Actually, they gave it to Kikuchi. Hardy second, Udig of Germany in third. And look at the standings right now, McGregor and Kikuchi taking it. And once again, trying to go on the attack, Marijke Gronewood. Chen watching her, no response from the rest of the field. How long will Marijke Gronewood make this one lap? She still has 6 laps to go. And Schouten there right at the front of the bunch, perhaps trying to slow them down a little bit. Break up some of that motivation to chase. Gronewood trying to go long range on the attack here. And Aoyu Chen doesn't think she has what it takes to match her. Gronewood on her own, 5 laps to go. Certainly ambitious. There doesn't seem to be a lot of cohesion back in the pack. They're staggered all outside the width of the track. They're not in a long line chasing. There is a bit of a chase coming on now. With the sprint lap now, it's 5 laps to go. Looking like it is going to be Gronewood taking this sprint, but I think she's eyeing more. Most of her competitors have been in Asia a little bit more, so what jet lag? What are you talking about? Gronewood gonna take sprint number 3, but has her eyes on a bigger prize. Still, not much in the way of organization from the field. Park in second, Kim in third. The two skaters from Korea. Updated standings. It's going to take a big change here coming up. It's going to take a big effort to try to catch this woman. Marijke Groenewold going on a long-range attack. And you know what? She has a big advantage. And unless she tires, I don't see how she's going to get caught. And there is a crash in the field and no organization. It's just chaos right now. Groenewold looking like she read this race perfectly. Just a few laps to go. Race may be on for second. That is a massive margin for Groenewold. Getting the bell. I don't think she's going to be caught. Plenty left in the tank. There is the bell for the rest of the field. Cruising. Comprehensive. She saw her moment. Marijke Groenewold going to take mass start number 2 in Beijing. 8:24.70. The time doesn't matter so much in this one. The race is on for second. It is, I believe, the two Canadians. It's Blondin getting second. And is that Malte in third? Yes, it is. So the two Canadian teammates celebrating together. Blondin after gold last weekend, silver today, and Malte after 4th place last week. Looks like she may pick up the bronze medal. But you saw Groenewold's plans early. She tried to go on the attack. That one was marked by Blondin. We'll take a look back at the highlights. So often we see mass starts come down to the decisive sprint at the end. That woman right there changed things up. Canadians will celebrate second and third with Blondin on the right and Malte as well. And so Groenewold showed her cards early trying to go on the attack. That one was read well by Blondin, who was just sitting in the draft. Gronowo decided to sort of settle things down then. The second time she attacked Ayu Chen of China, trying to mark her, but just was not able to keep up, just too strong. Marijke Gronowo on her return to the mass start after skipping last weekend, taking gold for the Netherlands. And so, they're going to give out some medals here in just a little bit for the men's 5,000 meters and for the team sprint, rather. And for this women's mass start. Just awaiting confirmation of the results. Usually this angle means results are coming. And so we will see if that's the case this time. And so they will give out some final medals of the day, and I will come back to sign things off. Day 2, plenty of action in Beijing in round 2 of the ISU World Cup speed skating season. Japan continuing to skate well in the men's sprints. Miho Takagi of Japan in the women's 1,000. USA in the men's team sprint, and then that woman right there, Marijke Gronowo, in the mass start.
士们、先生们，2023至2024赛季速度滑冰世界杯北京站男子短距离团体追逐颁奖仪式正式开始。
Vice President of ISU Speed Skating, Mr. Ron Esbelli, will present medals.
下面将由国际滑联速度滑冰部主席特隆埃斯佩利先生颁发奖牌。
Bronze medalist, Team Netherlands.
获得铜牌的代表队是荷兰队。
Jetting the pool, West Louis Ola. Silver medalist, Team China.
获得银牌的代表队是中国队。中国队的成员分别有柳斌、朱浩南、宁中岩。
Gold medalist, representing United States of America.
获得金牌代表队的是美国队。
Austin Clever, Cooper Maxwell, Zach Stoppenmore. Ladies and gentlemen, our congratulations for the ISU World Cup winner and medalist.
女士们、先生们，让我们一起祝贺2023至2024赛季国际滑联速度滑冰世界杯北京站的冠军以及获奖的运动员们。
Those results from the mass start we just saw, and their medals are still to come. Blondin staying atop the leaderboard with a first and a second place in the overall World Cup standings. Manganiello second as she finished fourth here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the ISU World Cup Speed Skating Beijing, China 2023 to 24. Women's mass start.
女士们、先生们，2023至2024赛季速度滑冰世界杯北京站女子集体出发颁奖仪式正式开始。
Vice President of ISU Speed Skating, Mr. Ron Esbelli,
下面将由国际滑联速度滑冰部主席特隆·埃斯佩利先生颁发奖牌。
Bronze medalist representing Canada.
铜牌获得者来自加拿大。
Valerie Gomez. Silver medalist representing Canada.
银牌获得者来自加拿大。
Defending Hunting. Gold medalist representing Netherlands.
金牌获得者来自荷兰。
Defending Luxembourg. Ladies and gentlemen, our congratulations for the ISU World Cup winner and medalist.
女士们、先生们，让我们一起祝贺2023至2024赛季国际滑联速度滑冰世界杯北京站的冠军和所有获奖的运动员们。
And that wraps things up from here in Beijing. Not a bad day, 2 of action. Still lots more to come tomorrow, including the men's mass start, women's team sprint, men's 1,000 meters, and another women's 500, as well as the women's 3,000 meters. I've got that one to call tomorrow as well for you. Looking forward to calling it. Hope you'll join me. Until then, my name is Gavin Day. Goodbye.